This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Is there a better way to start the morning than with a hyena walk by? Good morning, June. How are you, gorgeous girl? Isn't that wonderful? I've got so many plans for today. I've got such a good feeling about today. I hope that you guys do too. We're going to follow up with June, but you know how difficult it is with following a hyena, so jump on board, everybody. It's your live safari through the African bush. Welcome aboard. I'm just trying to figure out if we can. The banks are quite high here, so we're going to turn around and try to follow June. It's so nice to see one of our Djuma clan again. I really have missed them. Apparently there were a lot of activity on the dam cam, and they were hunting. I'm not sure at what time, but we're going to try and follow up with her. Hopefully we'll be able to, or she'll be able to lead us somewhere. Hi, it's me, Trishala. I've got Morgan on camera with me. I'm just so excited. Oh, she's running. I'm not even that close to you, June. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe she's going to take us somewhere. Well, this is your live safari, everyone, so use that hashtag WildEarth to talk to us. You can also use @FC on the YouTube chat stream. Yes, her nose is down. Her nose is down. What do you got, girl? You can also go to our website. You can register to use our questions and comments box. If you're under 18, please use kids' questions at wildearth.tv. Oh, we'd love to hear from you. Now, I don't want to get too much closer. For one, she is a nervous hyena. And secondly, like most hyenas, she doesn't like to be followed. But you can see her nose is down. She's following her nose. There is a game path around there. Nope. She's moving towards camp now. I'm going to give her a bit of space before I follow her because she'll just start to run. Her head is still down, but her nose is not on the ground. So she's still probably trying to pick up on a scent of some sort. It's quite nice and warm this morning. It's already about 20 degrees Celsius. Is it really? No. That feels too much. At least that's what they tell me. I must say though, it is quite warm. Let's try and follow her. There we go. How about I just send you over to have a look at the weather before I tell you that it's warmer than it is?
It'll be very interesting to see where that hyena goes and what it leads Trishala to. You are at andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve, and a very warm welcome from us here at andBeyond Phinda. Look at that beautiful cloud in the sky starting to glow in the morning sunshine. And my name is Damon. Behind the camera this morning is Glenn. We've just stopped for a second just to show you these beautiful clouds and to hopefully get a bit of a view of the sunrise a bit later if it does start to show while we're sitting here. We've got quite a long drive planned for this morning. We're going to be heading up to the far north of the reserve to see if we can't show you another patch of sand forest. So once we've done here, we're going to be having to move quite quickly. We're going to check a couple of open areas along the way to see if there's any signs of maybe some cheetah or some lions along the way. But that's going to be our plan for the morning, is to go and have a look at that forest. But for the time being, this cloud in front of us is absolutely magnificent, and Glenn's doing an awesome job of getting right in with the zoom of the camera, because I've been using my binoculars, but you can all use the zoom of the lens. It's really, really spectacular, and it's basically the only cloud in the sky is that little wisp out over the eastern horizon. And like I said, we haven't quite seen the sun yet. The mountains and then the sand dunes along the Indian Ocean are kind of obscuring it from us for now, but it should be up pretty soon. We've been watching it kind of change in hue from a lovely kind of lilac color. Now it's going to more of like a salmony golden color. And even right before our very eyes, you can see it starting to change. Very pretty. Safari Kitty is saying, wow, the sky looks amazing. Absolutely, Safari Kitty. And even now, can just start to see the glow of the sun coming up. Just down, yeah, exactly right there. Well done, Glenn. Just see that little bit of a red glow on the other side of the mountain where the sun is coming up. And it's so wonderful, so early in the morning when the air is so still and all the birds are starting to call a little bit more hesitantly in winter than in summertime because of how chilly it is. Obviously, they're all wanting to save and conserve energy and try and huddle up and stay warm. But obviously, with the stillness of the air, there's sounds that are traveling from all over, and we could hear a male lion roaring in the distance. But we're going to get on with our long drive up to the north of the reserve. So while we get started there, let's go across to Andrew so he can say good morning to you.
Good morning everybody. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve. This morning we're sitting in a high point of quarantine, looking at the sunrise, which is about to pop out there. Looking in the directly eastern side of a quarantine in that area. This is where we're going to be searching around for possibly animal. We're going to try find this morning for everybody. Hi everybody, my name is Andrew. On camera I have Theo this morning. So we decide to come this way to search around for any possible of alarm call when you're sitting on a high point of whatever. Could be a mound, could be maybe up in trees, and possible of that you could get any audio, especially early in the morning. It's just that only what I can hear right now, it's all the birds calling. Just gonna take a silent moment, just a moment of silence, listening on the wilderness. So far, it's got a lot of birds, but calling way distance from us. All the woodpeckers, southern ground hornbill that I had, but far, far away. And there's no such Impala's alarm call. But we haven't actually forgotten to go search around Treehouse Dam. That's where northern side of that dam there, where we left our female leopard last night, attempting to hunt on a steenbok. we're going to try to find what happened. So let me continue down to that direction of Treehouse Dam and then begin on searching around for the possible leopard tracks if they ever come out to the dam to drink last night, and we're going to take it on from there.
We haven't managed to get too far from our little sunrise spot, have Glenn and I, and we were blocked and halted in our progress by this herd of zebra that have now moved off of the road, and they're starting to make their way out into a clearing in search of some grass to feed on. And so they're kind of going downhill. They have no doubt come from the slopes of the mountain off to my left, off to our left, where obviously during winter time, with cold air tending to be a bit denser and sinking, but colder than the higher slopes of hillsides. And very often animals in wintertime, they'll spend the night a little bit higher up the slopes, and then as the day starts to break, they'll head down
Hi guys, I'm sure we'll get Phinda back soon. We have tried to follow June, but June has moved into the block. It's very difficult to follow hyenas. Unless they're on a scent. When they're on a scent, they're fixated and you can follow them. But what we're now doing is moving to the west on Viatella axis. I've picked up on some female leopard tracks. They just don't look particularly good, but we're still going to use them to take us into this direction. So let's see what happens. This is where my jackal friend is. Yeah, these tracks are. That's not good for us. That means that they're not actually good tracks. They're very unlikely to lead us somewhere. Either way, though, we're still going to move in this direction westwards. I think there was a chameleon around here. Were you here? No, it's very difficult to find them in the day, as you can imagine. But we'll try. So, June didn't look like she really had her nose down, you know. She did for a little bit, but I don't think that she was on the scent of anything. Okay, now let's go to the end of Viatella axis and then we'll turn around and take Impala Road towards the south. My leopard tracks have... yeah. Man, I thought they were really nice when I first saw them. And as I drove, no, they weren't. Partially driven over multiple times. So we're actually going to try, well, once we get to the south, try around the area where we saw that Impala that was behaving a bit strangely last night. We're going to go see if that herd's still around. Anyway, the sun is popping through. I think you should have a look at what it looks like. Oh, ugh. You should go watch how beautiful it is. There we go.
The sun is also rising here at andBeyond Phinda, and we've got a beautiful view of a marula tree in the foreground and then the sun rising in the background. If any of you are keen on taking screenshots, I'd highly recommend taking a couple now, or of course as your photographic and artistic license likes. But Glenn took one look at this and he said, no, we've got to stop, we've got to try and get this on camera. And look at how you can actually watch the sun moving. Well, not the sun moving, us moving, of course, in relation to the sun, or rotating, of course. But looks like the sun is moving. You can watch it kind of climbing into the sky. And it's almost starting to warm up a little bit more, kind of perceptibly. And as a result, there's a lot more birds calling. There's a white-browed scrub robin calling quite loudly. Some somber green bulls and a gorgeous bushrock. I'm just going to keep bird call. Mo Brian, you're asking if most of the reserves in South Africa are called savannahs. So Mo Brian, the word savannah is normally kind of used, it's the name of one of the biomes that we get here in South Africa, and it's characterized by a mixture of grassland and woodland. And then a kind of a ratio where there's more grass and less woodland, and then there's savanna woodland, which is more woodland in relation to the amount of grass. But a lot of the reserves, Mo Brian, are kind of in that, or do fall within that biome. So most of the eastern part of South Africa, of course the greater Kruger area, even down here into northern KwaZulu-Natal, and then even, I suppose, into kind of the northwest province of South Africa as well. That's all kind of I suppose even further west towards Tswalu. I suppose they would kind of be on the boundary of the savanna biome. But that's basically what that word means. Mo Brian it's just a biome in South Africa, and it's a biome that supports a lot of the very enigmatic animals here in South Africa. And for that reason, it's obviously the areas that visitors want to come and visit, or tourists want to come and visit, because they want to come and see the large enigmatic animals of Africa. And so by default, therefore, most of the reserves tend to be in that biome. But what a beautiful shot, what a beautiful scene. Glenn and I are going to try and keep on with our long journey up to the sand forest. Let's go across to Andrew. Apparently he's on the move.
So we're still making our way down to Treehouse Dam. It's cool that we started from the road that we last saw that leopard going into that wood. But it's also important to check all the... So we're going to circle around. If nothing come out, then we're probably going to drive straight to the direction of where we left her last night. Search around. No, it was actually a long night for her to carry on. Or maybe it happened that she's been behind these old steenbok for a lot of hours last night. So, but we're gonna find out. But first, let's check the watering hole here. So checking watering hole early in the mornings is that you don't really expect to find cats drinking, maybe because they drink late evening. But there's a chance sometimes you may come across something maybe close to the watering hole that, because it's still quite morning anyway, many animals are not thirsty yet. So you're asking if leopards are all diurnal or nocturnal. So they are nocturnal. Leopards are nocturnal. They do sometimes move during the day when it's possible for them to do so. But mainly they would love to move when it's dark in the evening. So that it actually helps them so much to hunt. But camouflage, it helps. That's all they need. So it looks like I'm gonna go down now, show everybody the track of that female leopard. Looks like she had come out of that block into this watering hole here. So we're gonna take it from here, and that's where we're gonna take it on from there. I don't know if from there everybody can able to see, but this is her track in there, and this is another of her tracks. So she have actually gone in there to drink. But what also I saw, there is another tracks here coming up again. There. So this is actually her tracks, but it's also going back where she came from. So it happens she came to drinks and then she headed back to the same direction she came in from. So this is where we're going to check it out this morning to see if maybe she's still around or maybe she has gone far away from there. Hunting makes a lot of cats. Hunting makes a lot of cats to carry on moving maybe non-stop because they got to focus on what they need.
Today is no ordinary day. We have many people on the vehicle. We have Dawn, Rial here, and we have Miss Gabby. They are holders of the Ticket to Dream.
It's a very special opportunity for us and a learning experience for Gabby.
My favorite is the wild dog because it's like painted a little bit.
If you want to go on safari with a WildEarth guide, whilst honing your bush knowledge and of course featuring in one of our shows, then head over to our website.
My most favorite part about WildEarth is I have learned so many things and I have become interested in so many things that I never even knew about.
I'm going to ask my friends and my whole class, even my teacher, to go on safari.
We wanted to buy a ticket to dream because we wanted our family to have this as a special time in our lives that we can always look back and reflect on. This is a dream to be here.
Hi everybody, I'm Tiana, I'm from Johannesburg, and I am one of WildEarth's biggest fans.
Been watching for 4 years, DG here from the Ozarks.
It's been 4 years for me and I'm not leaving anytime soon.
It's given me a time away from the hassles of the city, and it's given me a connection to a place that has stolen my heart, which is Africa.
Last year we lost our son, and now we're just watching WildEarth. Love to all you guys.
You are reminding us of the role that we play in nature conservation, each and every one of us. You have reconnected myself to a dream that I had as a child to get involved in nature conservation, and for that I'm really grateful for as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
My name is Ross and I'm a field guide at andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on WildEarth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
So we are now well and truly in the west. Still basically just keeping our heads down for tracks. Obviously lifting up so we can drive and actually see if there are any animals around. But mostly, I want to check for tracks because it's in this area that Tavangumi was yesterday morning. Not this exact road, but in this area he could have come out on this road. Or preferably is about to come out on this road. But it's still quite quiet, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this bend, and there's a nice open area just a little bit further on, and we're going to stop and listen. There's just so much antelope that you find in this area, particularly Impala plains. This is what the spot is called. Ah, there we go. That it's a good place to hunt. Good morning, you guys. It's also got lots of little bushes that would be good for cover. Hi, St. Louis Primary School. Welcome aboard. I'm so happy to have you guys. You'd like to know, do we have any giraffe and any zebra here on our reserve? Yes, we do. Our reserve is very big, so they walk to the areas we can go to. Sometimes they walk very, very far. So it just depends if we're lucky enough to see them, but they are here. There have been some zebras in the east that I've been seeing lately, so maybe if we move up that way. I know Andrew is moving up in the eastern side of the reserve. He might show you some zebra, but if I see zebra or giraffe, I will definitely stop to show you. Look at these two youngsters. It looks like they're actually having a go at each other, but in fact they're just eating next to each other. Oh, there we go. It's interesting. I would have really liked to see what this one with a strange or misgrown horn would look like if it was fighting. Can you see then? Oh, he's got his head down at the moment. But see the Impala on the right there? The horns are going to kind of turn and almost touch each other. That's normal development. And just before they touch each other, sometimes they'll even cross a little bit. They'll start to turn out to give us that normal lyre shape. But you can see that the one youngster, one of the horns is not developing properly. I wonder what that will mean for him. Maybe it'll mean that some females won't find him very attractive. And he won't be able to mate. Maybe it'll mean that he won't be able to fight properly. It could also mean that some females will find him particularly attractive because of that horn. Or maybe the position of that horn will allow him to fight better. That's the great thing about misformed things or deformed things, mutations, is that you don't know what it's going to do. There's some mutations we know are going to be bad, are going to cause an animal not to mate or to die. But a lot of the time we don't know what a mutation will do, although that looks like a developmental problem as opposed to a mutation. Oh, this Impala ram looks very buff. Don't you think so? I think so. That's a very beautiful scene with the starlings in the back there, the sun pouring through. They're also puffed up a little bit because it's chilly this morning. It's not 20 degrees Celsius, guys. No ways. I didn't check my weather app, so I'm not sure. And like I've said, the weather on Djuma can be quite specific to this area. It can be really cold here and then warm in Buffelshoek, and vice versa. Hi Jerome, you'd like to know if their jaw always moves in the same direction. I'm actually not sure, because biologically, or at least anatomically, it doesn't have to. But I'm sure that there is a preference that herbivores have for that movement. So you know where your jaw kind of hinges? We have a very rigid joint. Just like us, if we had to move our jaw like that, we would break it quite quickly. And they have a very loose area there that allows them to move the jaw from side to side. So there's no reason why it shouldn't be able to move in both directions, although I'm sure they have a preference for what direction it moves in. The other thing is they're very important muscles that are involved in the movement of those jaws. Temporalis muscles that attach from the top of your head, the side of your skull, down to your jaw. And then there's masseter muscles that are along the bottom. For herbivores, those masseter muscles are huge. points it can attach to.
So we came now into the block. This is the area where we left here last night, attempting on the steenbok. And then there's no other way else the tracks show up, except for the last place near the water we saw it. So I'm busy driving around here just to check. Maybe something happened last night that makes her stick around. But if you fail to find her in this area, we're gonna check back to the near quarantine in another area. This is where there's a lot of impalas last night were seen, and we'll get around. What drove the carnivore species to be around? There's a lot of chances of them hunt and kill. It's got to be where there's a lot of prey species, which is all impalas and type of antelopes. Attract them.
So good morning from the Tswalu Kalahari. We're looking at a beautiful day ahead. My name's John. I'm going to be your guide for the morning, and we have Gerrit behind the camera. This morning we're just going to do a little bit of a bumble around and see who's up and about. Good to be back on the road. Nice to be out again, and the reserve is looking spectacular at the moment. I'm sure you can see as we drive along here the winter conditions. Beautiful light early in the morning. Temperature's pretty chilly, so very typical of these arid, drier environments. Ice cold in the morning, freezing cold in the evening, but still fairly warm in the daytime. So we're starting our temperature at the moment close to zero. It'll get considerably colder in the next few weeks, but at the moment not too bad out here, not too shabby. as you can see at the moment, still a little bit quiet out here in the Kalahari. It's very, very typical. I was commenting a short while ago about the colder conditions in the more drier desert environment. So typically what we see here is the wildlife will start moving a little bit later in the morning. It's a big trade-off as you go into the drier time of year, you know, being able to consume enough food to maintain body heat. Do you do that? Is it available, or do you conserve heat, move in the warmer hours, which would then ensure that you need a little bit less to eat to make it through your typical day without losing too much condition. So it gives us a nice opportunity to get out, start exploring, seeing what we could be looking for. I have just seen some tracks. I'm just going to go back. I'm not sure. It looked like a cat track. Have a quick look what we've got here. So it was tracks of what looks like a couple of cheetah have been strolling along here. Probably not from this morning, maybe late in the evening. But we'll start here this morning. We'll see if we can see where these two chaps have gone to. And hopefully be bumping into lots of other interesting stuff as we go along. Quite typical for cats to move along the road. It's a nice easy game path. So hopefully they're on the road somewhere.
Great, everybody. I came back to the very beautiful our treehouse dam. Now we're sitting with the hammerhead or hammerkop. Busy printing in there. It's probably just arrived because we were here and it was not such a bird. They can switch Waterhole to another. But probably before, it's going to go hunt around the edge of the water. The idea is to clean himself before or get warmer. The sun is shining up a little bit. So the hammerhead, or hammerkop, if you look at the head, it's got a shape like a hammer in the back, little feather that's growing out backwards. Jamina, you're asking if they're young born in different color. They have a young color, but they're very softy feather, but the color, they're slightly different to that. It's kind of like little yellowish when they're young. They only develop brownish when they're old enough. usually lie. At breeding season. But often they build such an enormous size of a nest. And their nest often been used by maybe an owl, and the Egyptian geese on top of their nest can actually build their nest as Egyptian geese. So we're going to leave this bird because we're still sitting around here this morning. We don't waste the time here, so we didn't have to find our leopard. So we're going to go back to Phinda with Damien.
Glenn and I are still on our mission up to the sand forests of the north of andBeyond Phinda, and we've once again had our path blocked, this time by some giraffe and another couple of zebra also off to the left. We're driving in quite an interesting area, an area that we haven't shown you very often before. It's a kind of an open grassy plain below the mountains that kind of form the western the western boundary of the reserve. See, there's that very long grass that's growing here. Oh, and there's a flappet lark as well if you listen carefully. It's just stopped displaying. There's a small brown bird called a flappet lark that I think we've shown you before. It makes like a clapping sound with its wings. In its display flight, it goes krr, krr. Quite a relatively common grassland bird here. But yeah, it's now stopped displaying. It's landed in a thicket off to the left. But yeah, so we've been coming through these grasslands, making our way steadily north. Just checking if there is any sign along the way of that mother cheetah with the 3 cubs, but so far no luck at all. This is the area where she was last seen. And we've been watching the giraffe quite carefully, of course, like we said yesterday, on our search for those 2 chaparral cheetah. Giraffe with their long necks and their excellent eyesight. The vantage point that they've got from that head being so high above the ground, they're pretty good at spotting predators, and if you know what to look for, their body language can often be a dead giveaway if there is a predator nearby, even something that is very unlikely to harm them, like a cheetah. But there we go, see those 2 giraffe, those 2 young male giraffe, they've now just moved into a little thicket there, starting to feed. The one on the right actually looks like it's feeding off of a bushveld gardenia. I don't know if you're able to see there, Glenn. There's those big grey balls that are growing, almost like, well, they're fruits basically. Those big grey balls that are growing in that tree there. And the giraffe feeding on those big leaves. Have a look at the top of that giraffe's horns. See those bald patches? And even how thick those horns are. One way that we can tell from this distance that it is a male giraffe. Males, of course, using those horns to fight with each other, swinging their necks at each other. So those horns super robust, and then with those little bald tips to the end. And the one on the left has got a zebra standing very close to his feet, and the zebra is now running away. The giraffe just started to walk, and that zebra was very close to it. And obviously not wanting to get caught by by a hoof as the giraffe started to walk, so very wisely moving out of the way. A lot of birds calling and displaying around us. It's out here in the grassland. Hodelak, you're asking how fast a giraffe can run. Hodelak, I've read reports of them being able to run at about 60 kilometers an hour. So I think that roughly translates to about 40 miles an hour, if I'm not mistaken. So pretty quickly. And they can maintain it for, I mean, look at how long those legs are. They can keep it up for a fair while. I'm not exactly sure how many kilometers they could run at that speed for, but certainly long enough to be able to outlast something like a lion that might be chasing them. It's quite a comical sight to watch a giraffe in full flight, those long legs. And they almost look like they're running in slow motion, but then when you see how fast the ground is moving past them, you realize obviously those longer strides make up for their slower turnover rate. Also, a very different gait is their running gait to their walking gait. Of course, we talk about how when they walk with both right legs and both left legs and both right legs and both left legs. But then when they run, it's more of a gallop. And the back legs kind of coming together around on both sides of the front legs and then pushing off. Those two giraffes still very busily feeding in the thicket there. The one on the right still busy with the gardenia. The one on the left has moved over to a scented pod. The same tree is what those giraffes were feeding on yesterday. In the area we're on, a lot of clay in the soil. So great for these different kinds of thorn trees to be growing in. Glenn and I are going to leave these giraffes now. We're going to let them continue feeding. We're going to head over the mountains and keep making our way towards that sand forest.
Founded in 1973, the Endangered Wildlife Trust has consistently and effectively worked towards achieving our conservation legacy. Contribute to this legacy by visiting EWT's Get Wild eShop and purchase products with a purpose.
I love being a cam-up for WildEarth. The animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. My favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
Guys, have a look at what we've got. This is better than my birthday. Look at that. This is the first time that I ever see cubs this small. This is so special. This has officially just become my best sighting of all times.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
Delivering 6 hours of HD wildlife content live every day is no small feat. It's a massive team effort, and we all rely on one another. Cam Ops have a bit of work to do in the morning. Up nice and early, get all the checks out of the way, and make sure we're ready to go live. Helping others fall in love with nature brings meaning to what I do. It's also a lot of fun.
So we are still searching around, hoping to find some more tracks of these cheetah. It is quite interesting. There's tracks on a couple of different spots going in a few different directions. The one thing we have seen is we've seen a handful of springbuck. So perhaps, you know, two nice male cheetahs early morning if they're looking to hunt. This would be a really good environment for it. There's enough cover and certainly a good prey base. You know, animals suitable in size for them to be pulling down. Cheetah themselves, it's a little different with coalitions of males because there's a little bit more strength in numbers, but for the most part, a cheetah wouldn't really be hunting anything too much bigger than itself. You know, they're not the most powerful of the big cats. They're incredibly fast, but they lack that muscle power, that muscle strength to really wrestle anything too much bigger. So on the assumption that there's lots of food around, and they've definitely been going in zigzagging through here, perhaps they're on a hunt, perhaps they're looking for food. So yeah, we had a question there from St. Louis Primary School. If we can just get that question again, we missed it there. St. Louis Primary School, that's a very nice question. In Tswalu we have a great variety of predators. But by far the biggest of the predators and the biggest of the predators in Africa, in fact, is the lion. We have a healthy population of lions here, and it's interesting. It's not just that we have lions here. These are Kalahari lions, and Kalahari lions are reputed to be the biggest, healthiest, strongest lions probably in Africa. You know, they are disease-free out here. So the Kalahari lion, beautiful example of African lions, and obviously then by far our biggest predator. Second to that, it would be the spotted hyenas, and then things like your leopard, your brown hyenas, your cheetahs. But lion, the apex, the top of the food chain when it comes to the predatory world, closely followed by the spotted hyenas though. As we're driving along here, we're seeing a little bit of activity now. Again, a nice question there. Whether or not it's the chance of seeing nocturnal animals at this time of day. What can happen, and again, especially in these cooler, these extreme environments where the temperature really plummets. Quite often animals that are more typically nocturnal, they may move a bit later, earlier in the afternoon, a bit later in the morning, with the idea of conserving energy, by not wasting energy trying to keep warm. True nocturnal animals, it's a push for them to come out during the day. But in the cool weather, in the very cold weather, should I say, there is that chance that they'll come out and utilize the heat to be able to get out, find food without burning off too much energy. So yeah, for sure, definitely a possibility. We could be lucky enough to bump into nocturnals during the daytime. Yeah, we're gonna keep bumbling around here, hoping to see if we can get more tracks of these cheetah. But for now, we're gonna head off across to Trish and see what she's looking for out there.
Well, here it's still fairly quiet. Not much going on. So that's why we're going to head now to maybe Treehouse Dam, Twin Dams. Just relax there, see what comes along. Yesterday we had such a nice time there. I haven't even seen an elephant today. Yesterday the elephants were all over the place. Although we did see June, so that was a good way to start off the day. I'm glad that it is a little bit warmer than usual this morning, like a degree or two. And I wonder if that has affected the movement of predators. Animals, including ourselves, can be very, very sensitive to a change in temperature. Although, I must say, I'm wondering about it, but I don't think so. I think about lots of things out here. You get a lot of time to think out here, and there's so much inspiration for thought. When I think about the amount of light, temperature, even I sometimes think about elevation within Djuma. So there's no mountains in Djuma. But there still is subtle differences in elevation. And it'd be wonderful to see, to be able to collect data on it and see if there's a significant difference between the vegetation or even the fauna on the crests, particularly the fauna, because we know the differences of vegetation and crests compared to in the drainages. But for fauna, it would be interesting. Let's see, these look like hyenas. Yep. But temperature is an interesting one because it fluctuates daily, obviously, and then it also depends on not just the climate of the area, but also, some extreme things that just make their way into unexpected cold fronts, etc. Apparently there was a small earthquake in Durban this morning. Or was it last night? Can't remember. I just know in my family groups, everyone's posting about it. Yes, we all have those groups, don't we? Imagine if that would have affected animals all the way here. I don't know, but I think that it's an interesting thought. Imagine if elephants could have detected that. It's not unimaginable, it's not impossible. Hello, young buck. Let's have a look at you guys. No, okay. Well, there's a mature ram or two that actually would like some attention from us. Never mind. Didn't quite want any attention from us. All right. I'm going to head off to Treehouse Dams right in front of me here, so we're going to go there and see what's happening. We're going to send you over to Tswalu. They have a much bigger herbivore than this guy.
So we've just, as I said, we were bumbling along. We have an idea now of where those two male cheetahs have headed off to, so we'll continue there shortly. But in the meantime, we've just bumped into a nice big buffalo bull. It's an animal that is often referred to as a dugger boy. But these buffalo bulls, they, you know, within a herd of buffalo, the males are always competing for the top place within a herd. And female buffalo, they can breed at any time of year. So that, with that in mind, there's always an opportunity for mating. So the more typical buffalo bull you see out on his own like this, it's usually a much older guy. One that is, you know, he's heading towards retirement. He's not able to, or not willing to be continuously competing for a place in the hierarchy within the herd. You know, coming past his prime, he'll become a target to the younger, stronger guys who are now looking to assert their dominance in a herd. Sometimes you get the younger guys that have just had enough of the continuous boxing matches. But for sure, this is a nice big old guy. I'm going to try and go forward a bit and see if we can get him. He was walking. Here he comes. He's actually starting to move again. But yeah, he's been striding along, scratching on trees, and ultimately I think his general direction, he's heading towards a waterhole. But you can see him as he comes through the thickets there. He's, a good sign of his age. Look at his back. You can see he's losing a lot of his hair. His horns are all gnarled and broken at the ends. So that really is a more typical view of a much older guy. So he'll be in his early 20s and typically not living too much past early to mid 20s. But always nice to see these big old bulls straying along. So a sign of an animal that's had a good, healthy life and has no doubt contributed to the broader genetics of the population. You know, a big guy like that, he'll certainly have sired a few young over the years. Difficult to see him in that thicket. I can hear him better than I can see him at the moment. I'm going to try and move a little bit and see if we can't see where he is again. But yeah, I think we'll sit quietly and see what happens.
So we got it now. Very interesting. You know, all the muddy trees that has been covered up with mud. So this is what elephants, when they're in mud bath during the day or whatever course of the day, and all they do, they just have to find falling wood like this or standing still tree, and for that they rub against it. And for that reason they trying to get rid of ticks and all of the parasite they may have on their body. So we're trying to actually check further away east from the last area where we were at. We don't get any luck with these leopard, so we're going to check something else. Hopefully we come across her sometimes, you never know. But this looks like it's an older, not fresh, muddy here, so it's quite maybe a few months ago. In some area where it's been used not long ago, it's probably that animal was dried up, was not actually wet. All you see is just a grey patch. So I'm gonna move on, see if what else I can find. I'm looking forward to follow up on any of sound, anything that I can focus on, tracks or an audio itself.
We're here at Treehouse Dam where there's a nice hammerkop. Just doing the usual morning activity, which seems to be the same for most of us actually. Get up, give yourself a bit of a clean, sort out your morning ablutions, and then go and find food. You can see that the hammerkop is still cleaning its feathers. It's such important machinery for its existence. It's a bird. It needs to make sure that its flight feathers, and all feathers, are neat and well taken care of. Now once it feels that it is done cleaning itself and it's nice and warm, you can see it's standing in the sunlight, then it'll go off and walk along the edges of this dam looking for a nice meal. Can you hear that, Franklin? Shouting. They call like that in tandem, so there's usually two of them around when they do that. So one's only going and the other one's going and then it ends up with that sound. Yes, that's exactly how it goes, guys. I'm sure you weren't even able to tell the Franklin's call from my imitation. I firmly believe that my horrible ability to mimic bird calls is actually more ethical. That's just how I make myself feel better about it. I've got a blacksmith lapwing there too. You know, we often get asked a question about why birds stand on one leg. And like you see it, I mean, your most obvious example of flamingos. I can't see if this hammerkop is standing on one leg at the moment, is it? One or two legs for you, hammerkop? Looks like one leg. Yeah. So it's standing on one leg at the moment, and usually what the researchers pointed to was at one point. That's why I love science. It's always changing. Is that it has to do with conserving heat, because if you have two areas of your body that are exposed, if you tuck one into your body, maybe it halves that amount of heat that you will be dispersing. But in fact, it seems that, especially for birds with long legs, their center of gravity is just in front of the knee. So if they stand on one leg and their body is directly above the knee, it is the perfect position to lock that knee joint, where they have to pretty much put in no effort to stay upright, and they can actually stay like that, asleep, because it's locked. It's kind of like, imagine an upside down pendulum. It can't go anywhere. It can rock on that plane, but it's taking no effort. It can't unlock unless they move so that the center of gravity changes. But I think that that's quite cool. So the reason that came about was a lot of ornithologists, which are bird scientists, thought it strange that the conservation of energy thing via heat, the idea that we could pick the bird could pick up one leg and then save half the energy it would normally expend through heat by having them both out, because birds already have a very complex network of blood vessels in their legs, and those are very, very good at conserving heat. So they didn't think it made sense for that to be the reason why they pull up the one leg. It seems that what does make sense is that they can lock that joint, and it takes very little effort to keep themselves upright like that. Less effort than if they had both their feet on the ground, which is very interesting. So it really has to do with the physics of the body of a bird as opposed to the biology, and that's something I love. Well, I mean, it's all interconnected, but when you're talking about birds and why they stand on one leg, I'm talking particularly about water birds with tall legs that it works for. For smaller birds that are closer to the ground, it's not the same. But I love that we would expect to be talking about the biology and we end up talking about the physics of the animal's body plan. You know how I love that stuff. I really do. There was an experiment done where scientists actually took dead flamingos and could prop them up on one leg, and they would stay there. And you could actually move the flamingo and it would still stay propped up on that one leg. Amazing. Imagine being the person at the party that has to ask them what they do. Take dead flamingos and prop them up. But it is for the good of our understanding. Hi, Amanda. You'd like to know if raptors use bird calls to find their prey. I'm not aware of raptors who flush out birds by mimicking their call. I know that our fork-tailed drongo does that quite a bit. There's lots of birds that can mimic calls, like a white-browed scrub robin, but the most obvious example of using it to acquire food is the fork-tailed drongo that mimics the calls of predatory birds. So that mimics raptors' calls and other predatory birds in order to make whatever is below them, squirrels, mongooses, drop what they have in their hands or in their mouths and scurry off. And that way the drongos can come swoop down and eat that food. But I don't know if it's the other way around, where raptors make calls to try and flush out birds. Really, ideally, raptors want to eat small mammals and reptiles. So for them, it would make most sense to be most stealthy, because those mammals and reptiles would know what the raptor sounds like. Imagine being a small mammal and seeing that shadow come over you. Now, it seems quite quiet at the dam, except for our hammerkop who gave us inspiration to talk about the physics of animals. But we're now going to move off towards Twin Dams and see what we can find there.
If you thought you had daddy issues, then think again. Many of the fathers in nature don't have the most commendable parenting skills, but there are some who are always there to protect their young. In honor of Father's Day, this weekend, Andrew and Trishala will be at the fire discussing wild dads. Sign up to be an explorer and you can join in the fun. And if you want to wish your dad a happy Father's Day, then send your messages and we'll be sure to read them out. Educating our youth about the environmental threats we face is critical. Our future depends on it. The Wildlife and Environment Society of South Africa, WESA, is actively leading the charge. Their goal is to encourage children to fall in love with our natural world and to empower them to live sustainably in the future. Through their school programs, the children learn to report on environmental issues through videos, articles, and photos.
The YRE program has changed my life in so many beneficial ways. Being out there at the workshops, I was entitled to talk with others, socialize, as well as my writing skills and leadership skills have improved, so it has been great.
WESA is a membership-based organization. By joining WESA, you will be helping to provide valuable support for these youth education initiatives.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me, and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
Look at this, the little one is up and about. Certainly hasn't had enough milk at this age. No amount of milk is enough. Oh, Corky. Too sweet. Oh, look at this. That is stunning.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
You're back with Glenn and I at andBeyond Phinda, and we've once again had our journey to the sand forest interrupted, but for very good reason, and we're definitely not complaining about it. One of the other game drive vehicles has tracked down 2 lionesses, and there's the one lying in the long grass. The grass is quite long, so it isn't the easiest view, but look out for her kind of pale chest and then that white chin of hers as she lifts her nose to smell the wind. Ooh. I don't know if you could hear that, but there was a loud screeching sound that came from a crested francolin that had just been spooked by something. And although the lioness we're looking at didn't react, her sister, who's sitting back and to the right of her, lifted her head and pricked her ears. Reason being that... Oh, there we go, the lioness is up. So that francolin has reacted to something. And it might be, it's definitely a predator. Obviously, that call is a francolin's kind of alarm call, a crested francolin's alarm call. And it's still going, it's still alarm calling. So whatever it's seen has obviously caused it or given it a bit of a fright, and it's now alarm calling, letting that predator know that it can see it, and letting all the other animals know in the area that there's a predator here. Now, it could be something like a slender mongoose. Ooh, both lionesses are now getting up and staring in that direction. I wonder what they've seen, what that francolin has seen, because both lionesses are super alert now. So like I was saying, it could be something like a little slender mongoose, or something bigger, something like a leopard or another lion. And while we haven't seen it just yet, the other vehicle, when they arrived, they noticed that, in fact, if you look at that lioness on the right, I don't know if you can see her muzzle, how there's a bit of a tinge of red to the side of her, the right side of her face. There's a carcass here. They've managed to catch and kill a wildebeest in the night. and they've been feeding on it. So the smell of that carcass may be attracting other predators. Maybe what that Franklin got spooked by. How uneasy that lioness looks. Her ears are pricked forward, and she's kind of looking all around herself. She's panting. She's unsure of what to do. And the next time she has a look at us, see if you can see everybody. See if you can see her nose. But even from the back, look at her body and how kind of neat her coat looks. Not too many blemishes. Her ears are very much intact. There we go. She's turning around. So I don't know if you can see in her nose and how pink it still is, especially in the middle. She's quite a young lioness. Both of these lionesses, two relatively young lionesses. And looking at their facial features and their markings, it looks like these are two lionesses from the pride of lions that we know as the mountain pride, that normally lives in the south, or that make their territory in the south of andBeyond Phinda. But these two have, for quite some time now, in fact for at least the last half a year or so, they've kind of been off on their own. They've broken away from the rest of the pride. We've spoken at length about how lions in this part of South Africa, not just on andBeyond Phinda, but even the other game reserves around us, how they tend to, I suppose lion prides all over Africa tend to do this under the right circumstances. They tend to kind of fragment. And that's what's happened here, we think, is that these two lionesses, with a third older lioness, kind of broke away from the rest of the pride, and they've been making their territory now kind of the central parts of the reserve, in between the territory of their old pride and that of the rival pride to the north of them. And the kind of the fragmentation is almost so complete that the adult lioness that broke away hasn't been mating with the males from the south, with the male from the south, but with the males from the north. Sorry, Novacan, you're asking if these lionesses would be able to defend themselves. I think the question was against a male, if he were to come here. Novacan, they are, like I said, both still, they're not yet of the age where they'd be able to breed. So they're not quite fully grown just yet. And they are, like I said, still quite small. And even if they were adult and fully grown, I think a big male lion, if he were to come in here and try and steal this kill, they would just give way to him. Luckily, they're of the age where, like I said, they're not quite yet ready to mate, but they will be pretty soon. And so they're not going to be in the same kind of danger as cubs would be if faced with a foreign male lion, a strange male lion that wasn't their father, in which case that male lion would more than likely come in and try to kill those cubs. These two are old enough that they'll be seen as potential mates relatively soon, so they won't be in too much danger. But they are, of course, also able to run away. Oh, look at how this lion is coming straight towards us. So that would probably be their strategy if they were confronted by a male, is to rather try and run away, move away from him for now. But of course, as they come into the age where they're going to be able to start mating, they'll actually go and start seeking out the males. And then it will be interesting because their territory, or the area they've been occupying is, like I said, it's kind of in the in-between, the no man's land almost, between the males from the north and the remaining male from the south. So which male or males they head towards in terms of when they look to start mating will be interesting to see. Now, I'm just having a look at my binoculars. Have a close look at this lioness's face. Look at her right-hand side of her mouth. Can you see all the blood there? That's there. On her bottom lip. And even a bit on her top lip. It looks like there's a small puncture wound there. No doubt given to her by her sister as they were feeding on that wildebeest. I haven't seen the carcass myself just yet, so I don't know how big of a wildebeest it is. If it was maybe a small one, maybe as that meat started to run out and the tension started to build over who was going to get the last mouthful, maybe she caught her, or she got a smack from her sister, got a claw into her face. Sounds very violent and very brutal, especially for two sisters, but that is very, of course, very normal for lions. It's every lion for itself when it comes to a carcass, and they'll each want to get as much of that meat as they possibly can. What she's looking for here, she seemed to be smelling. I didn't see anything when we drove through here, but it may be that there's a smell that she was getting from this area. She's now relieving herself, just urinating there. And then I wonder if she's not maybe going to go and join her sister lying down a bit closer to the carcass up ahead. Her sister obviously feeling that, well, being quite unsettled by that Franklin calling like that, wanting to make sure that she doesn't lose any of her meal to whatever that was causing the Franklin distress. But I think Glenn and I might sit here for a bit longer just to see what these lions do. Let's go across to Tswalu in the meantime.
So welcome back to Tswalu. Again, very, very typical of this year. I mean, the remarkable scenery, the beautiful scenery. And as you can see, we've got two nice adult female ostriches strolling through a nice open area with the beautiful Koranenberg Mountains in the background. But obviously, ostrich, they do really well in this dry environment. They're actually fairly common out here. By nature, they rely on their speed and agility to get away from trouble. So they're quite alert birds. They often, when we do see them from the vehicle, they'll try and move away, keep a fair distance, which is typical of any animal trying to look out for itself. These two are quite nice and relaxed, and always a treat to see them strolling along. Early morning, always looking for something to eat. But yeah, two nice healthy birds. I am surprised that I'm not seeing a male with them. Typically you'll have at least one male with a handful of females, and very social in how they nest, how they do stick together. But it seems like it's just the two girls here, unless we've missed the male somewhere. It's even though it's fairly open, it's still quite easy for a lot of these things to tuck their heads behind a bush and not be seen. But yeah, it's slowly starting to warm up, and they're using that to get out and hopefully find something nice to eat. You can see where they're walking now. There's a tree with lots of very distinct nests in them. The nests are of the white-browed sparrow weavers, again a very common species out here in this environment. But yeah, let's sit quietly again and just listen to the sounds. Lots of sandgrouse calling in the background, and two very nice ostriches just slowly plodding along looking for food.
I am looking at this beautiful swallow. It looks like a wire-tailed swallow, which is kind of cool. I don't see it often. Where more used to seeing like pearl-breasted swallows, but the pearl-breasted swallow doesn't have that rufous patch on the head. Do you see that? And it's just blue. Or we see this mosque swallow, but that doesn't have a rufous crown like that. So this is a nice find. Over here at Twin Dams. Hoping for some luck. There's a lot of bird luck going on. This wire-tailed swallow. Obviously there's not many, it doesn't look very wiry, but the females have much shorter wires. But if you actually look at, if it stretches out, you'll be able to actually see that tail. And you'll see that there's two wiry bits or streamers on either side. It's sitting really, really nicely for us, isn't it? Oh, a bit of a stretch there too. Oh, isn't that beautiful? It's really, really performing for us. I think we just happened to park at the right place to watch it go about its business. I think it is a female, like I said, just because the streamers are quite short. Oh. And just like that, silently, it flies away, leaving me. That's okay, there's lots of other bird life out and around here on Twin Dams. So we'll stick around here and see what else comes our way. I know there's some pied kingfishers, but I'm hoping a leopard walks past too.
Glenn and I are still with these two lionesses, and they've just moved into the shade of a thicket, kind of to the north of where we had originally seen them. And it's been quite a chilly morning here. Not terribly cold, but it's been icy. Definitely a day when layers have been required. And Glenn and I were just saying earlier, with that low temperature, that there surely any of the large predators out here, be it lion or cheetah, would definitely be wanting to lie in the sun and try and warm up. And that is indeed what those lionesses were doing initially when we got here, but they've now maybe just getting a little bit too warm for them, and they've moved into the shade. Still relatively close to their wildebeest carcass, of which we still haven't been able to get a view, but the fact that they're still here means that there's a pretty good chance that there's still some meat on there. They didn't look too full. Remember those cheetah yesterday and how fat those tummies were? How they'd gorged themselves? Neither of these two lionesses look to be quite as full. Not very easy to see them right now. They're lying in the shade of those clumps of bushes there. And I think that they'll probably be pretty set to lie down there for the day to watch over their carcass, maybe go and try and feed again a little bit later on whatever's left of it. Maybe some of the thinner bones. And interesting to watch their behavior and see how alert and vigilant they are. Like I said, still pretty young lionesses, and seemingly in the absence of that third adult lioness, who we'd said had broken away, so to speak, from the rest of their pride with them. And I personally haven't seen her for quite some time. I don't know where she has gone, and it seems that these two young lionesses have been moving around on their own for a while. So they've been having to kind of learn everything or take care of themselves, whereas previously they would have had that older lioness to help them out with making kills and protecting their kills from other predators. And this part of the reserve that we're in, just on the other side of where those lionesses are resting, there's quite a dense wall of trees. And if you head into those, there's a road that kind of snakes its way in there. And somewhere in there, we're pretty sure there's a hyena den. And it seems to be quite a large clan based on our camera trap research that we've been doing. Seems to be quite a few different hyenas that come to that den and that use this area. So quite a big clan that lives in this area. And I'm sure that if these lionesses were to be here at night and those hyenas were feeling bold enough, they may come and try and dispossess these two young lionesses of what remains of their kill. That is, if there is still anything really to fight for. Okay, but I think with those lionesses having now gone and lain down in the shade, we're going to leave them and we're going to see if we can at last try and get up to that sand forest. While we do that, let's go across to Andrew. Apparently he's at a big waterhole.
So we're now at the dam here. Beautiful watering hole. Hold a few of hippos on the other side, as well as beautiful nest in this dry tree. But on top there is a African fish eagle perched in there, watching around for a possible fishes, and that's why they're near the water. They hunt fishes. Looks like there's only one fish eagle at the moment, and that's a way of them doing hunting and give each other a chance. You find one partners on the far end or different watering hole. You can take it just a silent or a moment and listening to Oliver. Listen to Oliver's beautiful sound of his hippos making. So it's quite a lot of hippos, yeah, but they're all scattered all over. And they're probably just gotten back from the land early this morning for them, they will spend a whole entire day in this water. So I'm going to stay put here. I'm going to be sending you across to Tswalu.
So here you can see we're sitting with a couple of meerkats, and I think Tswalu has become quite well known now for the meerkats in the area. We're very fortunate out here. We have, I could only imagine what would be hundreds of different families of meerkats or groups of meerkats that live naturally out here. And over the years, as I'm sure all of our viewers know, we've certainly managed to habituate a couple of different groups to be very comfortable in the presence of people and certainly in the presence of cameras. This particular group would be one of the would be a more natural group that we haven't had any habituation with, and so we're watching them from a bit more of a distance. But you can see fairly comfortable. They're enjoying the early morning sun, and as we know, meerkats, mongoose in general, the families of mongoose, early morning when they do get up, they need to warm their bodies up before they can really get to action. So very typical that these meerkats are now just sitting, enjoying the sun, and in particular exposing their bellies, their little grey-coloured bellies, solar-panelled bellies to the direction of the sun, just to get up and to get that metabolism kicked up for the morning. Having just mentioned habituation, it's important to understand that habituation in a scenario like this, when we talk about things like meerkats, it's a process of slowly but surely getting them used to the idea of seeing people, as opposed to actually making them tame in any way. So in an area like Tswalu, the meerkats that we do watch, they've never been touched by human hands. They've never been fed. They've never been given water. And it's important for everyone to understand that habituation is just slowly but surely getting them used to the idea that we're not a threat, and we can watch them from a close, comfortable distance without us having any impact on their lifestyle. As for these chaps, like I said, if we were to try and approach them at all now, they would absolutely run for their lives. They'd be in that burrow quicker than we could get out the car. And that's most animals' reaction to people. That it's maybe a bit of curiosity, but for the most part, they prefer just to avoid contact, avoid danger. Virginia, I'm always happy to hear that people love meerkats. We certainly appreciate them out here, and they really are. They're incredible creatures, and very intricate social systems. They're interesting to watch. They're busy. They're active. For most of the day they'll be up and about now, and they certainly keep us on our toes. But yeah, incredible animals, and always nice to see them. This particular group that we're watching doesn't look like a very big group. When we first stopped, there was probably about 4 or 5 of them visible. On average, a typical group would be anything sort of between 8 to 15. That would be and this is a real average, but obviously, like any of these averages, that can be that can be very different, and for sure those groups of 20, 30, 40 strong running around. But a very typical group, you're looking at about 8 to 15. I can, at the moment, see 4, and every now and then a little head pops up somewhere else around the burrow system. So yeah, not the biggest of groups. Enzo, it's a nice question. When you ask if they can stand on their tails, they use their tail. If anything, they use their tail just as a little balance to lean on. But if you look closely at them when they're up and about, they're actually standing on their back feet. But yes, they're using their tails as a little backrest just to keep themselves upright. But all the strength is in those legs, and when they're sitting like that, they're actually on their feet. Sometimes with their bum touching the ground, but often standing just on the back legs, and the tail is a little bit of a balance to help them keep upright. But yeah, nice question, Enzo. Thank you. This kind of sitting and waiting behavior, you're going to see this will go on for quite some time in the morning, and especially now as we're going deeper and deeper into the colder season. They'll get up a little bit later every day, spend a little bit longer enjoying during the early morning sun, the warmth of the sand around the burrow. And then feeding out through the day. They'll spend most of the day away from the burrow looking for food, digging in the ground, hopefully picking up as many insects and scorpions and whatever they can find. But ultimately getting back to the burrows a little bit earlier in the afternoon as well. So they get back well before it gets dark and enjoy that last bit of afternoon sun before they snuggle up nice and warm together in the den system there. I'm very happy to say it is definitely starting to warm up now. And one you can see, obviously the mongoose being out, or the meerkat, should I say, being out, but the birds are coming to life now. Lots more bird sounds around us. So I'm going to sit quietly for a few minutes, and you can enjoy the birds and this excellent view of the meerkats.
The annual Safari Guide of the Year competition aims to create awareness for those men and women who dedicate their lives to tourism and wildlife. This year's event will be held at Marataba, a breathtaking privately managed section of the Marakele National Park in South Africa's Limpopo province. In celebration of this, WildEarth and Marataba Luxury Lodges are offering all explorers a chance to win a 3-night stay at Marataba Safari Lodge for you and a friend. In addition to a spectacular land-based safari, Marataba Luxury Lodges offer an opportunity for guests to cruise peacefully along the Matlabas River, watching the animals as they drink and wallow. The lodge offers you a chance to lie by the pool or enjoy a spa treatment, and one night could be spent sleeping out under the stars in a luxurious treehouse. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer before the 30th of June, and it could be you heading off on a long-awaited getaway. WildEarth Explorers. It's in your nature.
Hi everybody, I'm Tiana, I'm from Johannesburg, and I am one of WildEarth's biggest fans.
Been watching for 4 years, DG here from the Ozarks.
It's been 4 years for me, and I'm not leaving anytime soon.
It's given me a time away from the hassles of the city, and it's given me a connection to a place that has stolen my heart, which is Africa.
Last year we lost our son, and now we're just watching WildEarth. Love to all you guys.
You are reminding us of the role that we play in nature conservation, each and every one of us. You have reconnected myself to a dream that I had as a child to get involved in nature conservation. And for that, I'm really grateful for as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
It's a huge privilege to be in these incredible places with these amazing animals. I love filming lions. When they do get up and do something, it's always spectacular. When they are playing, are incredibly fun to watch, especially sabals and cubs. I love being in the bush and working in these incredible places with these amazing animals. We want to bring it to you so that you can almost feel like you're right there and be able to experience it and enjoy it the way we are.
Cool, so we're still here sitting where we've seen now there is an antelope coming out, attempting to drink, but there is also a crocodile on a small island, which is very interesting that we only saw that crocodile turn around looking at the antelope. Whether that antelope spot the crocodile, because now it's a big delay on that antelope not coming down anymore, still watching whether it's safe because it's got a young one anyway. So I think that's the only reason why it has to make sure it's safe for them to come to drink. It's actually a decent crocodile over here. Got a Nile crocodile. And always a chance for the crocodile to become success in hunting in the water. There's a lot of catfish in this watering hole, as well as so many of our rival in terms of antelope coming to drink at the same time, especially during the day. You can see now our antelope looks like not interested anymore. Probably they're gonna go away, or maybe try go around, because they found that it's not a safe spot for them to drink. So, Anastasia, you're asking if it's true that the crocodile drown their prey? Yeah, that's how they do. That's how they kill their prey. So all the power they got, it's additional, but usually they kill it quickly because animal drowned or then won't breathe under water, so die off probably that way. And when they're in the water, of course, they have a lot of power because they're capable of practicing their powers since they're young. In that, they were able to deal with even the kudus, those big antelope. And the wildebeest is a zebra sometimes also when they come to drink. Once they caught it, dragged into the water, then avoiding and losing a lot of energy in terms of fighting against that prey, they're going to be pulling into water to drown it quickly. So it's true they do drown their prey. So the antelope is gone around. We can't in the morning camera net because a huge amount. So we're gonna, I think, put them on a show again when they're on the other side, where I believe they're trying to wander around all the way to get a safety spot there. So Nikki, I want to know if the croc would be able to consume the big antelope at once. So if it's only one croc, no. And depending on how big, so if we talk about kudu, which is over 200 kg, and probably that is going to take a few days for that crocodile to finish it. Unless if there is more of crocodile that doesn't actually last long. If it's 5 crocodile, they're probably going to tear it apart and get it finished in a few hours. But for a small antelope such as steenbok, these common duikers and impalas, for that crocodile would only consume maybe a little bit of impala or half of it, and then the rest will probably going to stay for the next time it's hungry. You see this robusta tooth. Can able to tell that we're looking at the very stronger reptiles. For them to come out of the water basking, it's all an idea. Early in the morning. So that crocodile hasn't actually changed direction since that antelope has disappeared away from its side. So it's still watching in a direction. So we're gonna sit here and see if there's anything change. And then not only the antelope get caught here, birds would be eaten by croc as well. Those baby hippos, if their parents lost control of taking care of their babies, they'll be always eaten by croc. So a croc can eat anything, human, and the flesh. And they are not vegetarian, they are meat eater. So I'm trying to keep my eye on that antelope. But it seems to be actually coming around the other side to drink. It's probably just forget about this area. It's probably going to drink somewhere else. And our crocodiles, now it's trying to open a little bit of its mouth, which is actually the usual way of the crocodile.
We have driven around, taking it easy. We went to have a look for the owls. We couldn't find them. I think we actually need to look on the other side of the Milwaukee too. But because it's a bad signal area, we can't spend too much time there. Otherwise, we basically we can't help out. So we try to just go in there and check quickly and then come out. But it seems that I haven't been able to find them, at least today. So we'll try again in this afternoon. I really want to spend some time there. But for now, we're actually going to make our way back towards where we saw June walking. And we're going to gotta go shortcut an Aubrey's. See if we can pick up anything on that end, on the northern end, because I haven't found tracks on the south. We know that Salamba is crossed to the south. We know that Tandi and Maribs at least were still in Chitwa yesterday. We know that Kuchava's in the south, past Chitwa. Pretty much know that Sabui's in Little Gowrie. So really it's our male leopards that we can find. Moya most likely crossed out at Treehouse Dam. So if we go to the north, we might be lucky with Tavangumi or even Tingana. Wouldn't that be nice? That would be a surprise find. Anyway, those are just the leopards that we could find up there, but wouldn't it be just wonderful if we could find some elephants up that side too? And some snakes. I was also actually looking for some snakes in the Milwaukee. It's a difficult time to find snakes, but I thought, a nice big python. Hi Brandon, you'd like to know if there are plants that we don't see in winter due to a lack of sun. Not due to a lack of sun, because there's plenty of sun here during winter. What we lack during winter is water, rain. So a lack of sun? No. But a lack of rain, pretty much all small shrub-like plants. So any herbie type plant, shrub-like plant, except this, what's it called? The dwarf sage. That seems to be all over the place. But things like the kalanchoes and other small plants, they seem to develop best with lots of rain, especially fleshy plants. So shrubs are basically non-woody. And woody plants are hardier, so they find it easier to survive when there's less water. But those non-woody plants need water in order to stay upright, and a lot of how they survive, their life strategy depends on water. And they will only pop up when there's sufficient moisture around. As for flowers, most of the time we're only going to get flowers in spring and summer, and that's because flowers need to align their life cycle with the presence of their pollinators. Because if they're out and about now, there's no point. Literally, the point of a flower is to attract pollinators, so that it can reproduce. So there is zero point of having flowers when your pollinators are not around. So that's another one that we won't see in winter very much, flowers. But those are not a result of there not being enough sun or water. That's so that flowers can coordinate with the times when insects are most abundant. That's not all flowers. Leopard orchids, they bloom in winter. It all depends on their life strategy. And remember, whenever there's a gap, something's going to take it. Remember, we were talking about nocturnal, diurnal creatures. Not all flowers are going to bloom in the summer, because if they bloom or the spring, some are going to change their strategy to bloom in the winter, because it may be advantageous to them, like the leopard orchid. We can have a look for some tracks here at the junction with the pan. Nope, nothing. So we can keep on heading north. We're going to send you, though, over to John at Tswalu. See what he's getting up to.
So we are sitting on a sand dune, looking out over into the distance, the next sand dune and the next sand dune, and we've got towards the crest of the dune. There's a beautiful herd of eland, just feeding out there on the grassland. Eland are common in this area. They do really well out here, but really interesting creatures. They are by far the largest of the southern African antelope. Big eland bulls, you could be looking at 500-600 kilograms in weight. In some cases you're looking at comparing the size and body weight of something like a Cape buffalo. So these are massive creatures. What's quite unique about them is, even with that massive bulk, they like all of the antelope, can move at a good speed. But more importantly, these guys are incredible jumpers. And you can't imagine an animal with such massive body weight. I mean, you can compare it in looks in terms of to a big Brahman bull, big Brahman cow. But it's an animal that can, from an almost standing still position, you're looking at an animal that could literally go over a 2-meter game fence with really no effort. Private small landowners that have a couple of eland on their properties will tell you with much dismay that it's easy enough for them to jump. But you'd never imagine it if you see how big these creatures are. The group we're looking at in the distance there, it'll be a mixed group, but the bigger number being females and younger animals. But always a couple of big bulls in tow. But yeah, really nice to see them out. And again, it's just again showing you the Kalahari Desert. It comes to life when the temperature rises a little bit. Certainly a lot more activity now than there was an hour ago, but always special to see eland. Throughout this Tswalu area, though, the one thing again we are very privileged to have out here is we have a lot of rock art, petroglyphs, so rock engravings, and one of the most common features on these engravings is if you look at the age of them, they're considered to be very early art forms, before people were mixing color to paint. And the pictures themselves are incredibly realistic. They're incredibly well drawing, and the eland is with all African rock art and African rock pictures. the eland is a very significant part of it. So for the local people that have lived here and are still living here, the eland is obviously an important animal in their life. Much in the way of modern world, cattle would be of great importance. So yeah, these animals have been here for a lot longer than we have, and certainly for as long as they've been here, people have been taking pictures of them. But enjoy watching these beautiful animals.
This is Jake Whitener, all the way from the US, and he is a holder of the Ticket to Dream.
I decided to support and buy the Ticket to Dream to help WildEarth in its mission of conservancy towards animals and the environment.
If you want to go on safari with a WildEarth guide, whilst honing your bush knowledge and of course featuring in one of our shows, then head over to our website.
And I would highly recommend that people would be involved in that program.
Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer and you could be making your first ever on-screen appearance.
Ever since I was able to get the Ticket to Dream, I've been looking forward to coming on this drive. It is an absolutely fabulous experience and it's great.
The Mara Triangle is a jewel in the Kenyan conservation crown, and thanks to the dedication of the Mara Conservancy, it thrives as one of Earth's greatest national treasures.
We have been experiencing a reduction in the whale snails that we collect on a monthly basis, and this is basically attributed to our intense patrols.
Over the years, this courageous team of anti-poachers has reduced poaching to almost zero.
Mimi naitwa Stephen Olereso. Nimefanya kazi miaka 16 sasa. Kuanzia mwaka 2002. Hao wanadamu ni wenye utua sana inaogofya ni wale wenye wanaenda kama ndovu. Wanatumia kama bunduki. Sasa hiyo ndio huwa inakuanga hatari sana kwa sisi.
As a result of the global pandemic and the massive reduction in tourist revenue, the Mara Triangle is facing a financial crisis. They need your help if they are to continue their ability to protect this magical land.
My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at WildEarth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, you're going to have to register on the website. But once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed.
You know, for me, what's better than finding some tracks? Finding one of these guys. Oh, amazing. We actually found them further up on Galago shortcut, and then we lost them. They walked into this block, and I thought, oh, but it's quite a long drive to go back to Galago Pan. I hope that we'll make it there just in time to meet with them, and yes, we did. As they're moving quite quickly, I think they must be quite thirsty. It's a calf and its mum. I'm hoping the rest of the herd is around too. They'll lead us to them. She's gonna pop out again in a bit. Oh, good morning, girl. And where's baby? Here comes baby. We're gonna let them walk towards the pan and then we'll meet them there. Instead of trying to race behind them, we'll let them go around that bend. Look at all those starlings following them as they move. You've seen it many, many times. As they move, they're flushing out any insects that are still in the grasses. Easy pickings for the starlings. Well, they've made it easy for us. They've crossed into the block so we can use the road. Thank you so much, guys. Hi, St. Louis Primary School. You'd like to know if I've ever come across an injured animal that I've had to help? Yes, lots of times in my life, but at the reserve, not so much. So at the reserve, we don't help animals unless the injury is as a result of humans doing something. So if a lion has attacked an animal and an animal got free but it's got a broken leg, then we can't do anything about that. So if it occurs naturally, we don't intervene. So that means that we don't go in and try to change something. Instead, we just let it unfold. If the injury is as a result of humans doing horrible things like snaring animals, or, oh my goodness, look at this. I didn't expect this many elephants. Hello, all you guys. So, or maybe somebody's hit an animal with their vehicle or something like that. Then we definitely do intervene, but we don't do that. The vets do that. So all we are is we are guides. They are trained vets, state vets, and all the personnel of the Sabi Sands, which is the reserve, that are involved in those types of things, not the guides. I mean, I've helped animals cross the road, or if they look like they're in the road, then I'll move them off the road like little land snails or tortoises, very, very carefully. As carefully as this little one. Treading the edge of this pen. But because this is mostly a natural system, there's predators, there's prey, everything is what's considered a natural system. Then if whatever happens within the natural system naturally, we let happen. It's always good at home and in your gardens, things like that, if you find injured animals, to be compassionate and kind to them. And if you can't help, you call somebody who can. But it's very important to know that we're human and we know how to help other humans best. I've been caught many, many, many a time as a child in tears and very upset because the bird that crashed into the window I couldn't save, things like that. And it's important to accept that we don't know what animals need. We're not professionals when it comes to that kind of thing. So it's important to accept that sometimes when animals are injured, they may die. And a lot of the time, us handling them and things like that actually stresses them out more. But it's always good to try and help. And the best way to try and help is to call somebody that would know how to. There's about 20 elephants all here at the pan. Now they like to drink at this pan because it's a pumped pan. So it's got nice clean water. And lots of very cute babies. There are at least 3 tiny ones, about a year. Between a year and 2 years old. Look at this small one. Look at this one. Hi Benson, you say they're green, they're grey-screen. The skin seems to be popping more today. Always here at Galago Pan, I find that. It's because it's nice and open. You can see them really clearly, and also because they're all together like this. Normally when they're all together like this, oh look, their kiss, look at that. Best friends. They're just play fighting actually, or trying to and not sure what to do because they have their trunks in between their tusks. Look at this little one trying to get in. Me. You have no tusks, little one. Look at that one's face. It's actually had to put its... Oh no, it hasn't. I thought it was wetter than that. Normally when they're small and they don't feel like using their trunks, they'll go face first. Look at this. Following the other one's behavior. Look at that, ears flared open like that. The matriarch said, come on now, gotta get going. Look at that. That's a lot of elephants for your eyes, and they're all moving. I love seeing this. Oh, I think you might have walked into a tree there. It's interesting because it's a Timbuktu. They don't generally like to eat Timbuktus. Giraffes do. Elephants will, but it's definitely not their preference. Very cool. We're going to watch the rest of them join up with their herd, and we're going to try and catch up with them along the road. But for now, I'm going to send you over to John in Tswalu.
So you can see that our persistence this morning has paid off. There are 2 beautiful male cheetahs sitting up there on the top of the sand dune. Difficult to see the one. Again, these cats, and cats in general, for their need to hunt, they have the most remarkable camouflage. So you can clearly see the one sitting out on the sand, nice and easy. Just a little bit to the right of him is the second one, and he's in the grass. And, I mean, if I didn't tell you he was there, I don't think you'd know that. But these cats, their camouflage is remarkable. And we've just been incredibly lucky this morning that they've chosen to get to a high point and at least have one of them sitting out where he was visible from a distance. Cheetah, as hunters, they, like all of these cats, they They rely on their ability to keep themselves hidden and to camouflage and to sneak up as close to their prey as possible. Cheetah will very often take a high point, one, to look for potential food, and two, to make sure they don't become the target of another bigger predator. So it is fairly common to catch cheetahs sitting up on things like this, on these dunes. In the more bushveld areas, you might catch them up on termite mounds and things like that. But out here where we are very privileged. We often see them sitting out on the dunes. I doubt they'll be there the whole day. It's going on 9 o'clock now, and the temperature's certainly starting to rise a bit. So again, for them to conserve energy and not tire themselves out as the day goes on, I'm sure they'll look for better shade. And the top of the dune is going to be a little difficult for that. What is quite different with cheetahs as opposed to the other two big cats we find in southern Africa is that cheetahs will do a lot of their hunting during the day. So having said they won't spend the day up there because of the heat, there's nothing to say they won't actually get up and start moving with the idea of hunting. And for them hunting during the day, a lot of it would be to do with avoiding the other bigger predators, avoiding the competition or their competitors. But at the same time, if you look at most of nature, when it does start warming up, animals naturally start looking to rest.
Great. Sorry about that, technical issues. And we're still sitting here at the dam, still watching at our croc. Since then, nothing else has arrived here into this very watering hole. Been seeing so much of these Egyptian geese flying over and over, but the whole noise is settled down here again. It's a very interesting sound, like whistling. That was a southern grey horned bull. But it's not doing it anymore. So we're gonna carry on search for anything else. If we can pick up anything very interesting from here.
We're still with our Ellies. They've moved further into a block away from the road, but we still have a nice view, and there's a couple still drinking, so we'll turn back and have a look at them in a bit. But for now, I'm just going to enjoy the sounds of them feeding. They're being quite quiet about it, I must admit. They can be very, very loud feeders. But today it seems that they're very careful, very quiet about their feeding. They look like they're going to head towards Friatella Dam after their quick drinks break here at the pan. Or at least into this drainage. You can see it's very, very thick there. You can hardly see their bodies. Of course, they like to be in areas where they can be shaded, and drainage lines are great for that. Plus, there's some really nice vegetation in drainage lines. I see a small one popping its head out. But it looks very well camouflaged amongst the very dry, grey color of all of these plants. Some of them, they look like common spiked thorns that have all dried up. Can you see its shiny forehead? Very sweet. Well, we're going to turn around and see if those few that are still drinking will be good to us. The more time spent with elephants for me, the better.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda. Glenn and I are sitting in the beautiful sand forests of the far north of the reserve, and we've just been bombarded with sunbird activity. There's been a couple of male near-guard sunbirds that have been giving us the absolute runaround. We've been trying desperately to try and get one on camera, but it just seems impossible. As soon as we manage to actually see one, it flies and it moves on to the next tree. But we managed to get Glenn a brief glimpse of one, the first time that he's seen one. And we've decided just to sit still, because if we keep on chasing them around or following them around, we're just going to end up driving around and around and around and never actually getting to sit still and kind of take in the forest. So that's what we're doing now, is waiting and hoping that they come towards us. So we've parked underneath a big Lebombo, well, a rather tall Lebombo wattle tree. Not a terribly thick one, so not a very old one, but it's grown quite tall. And often these near-guard sunbird, the males, when they give their territorial calls, in fact, there's one calling now. I'm just going to keep quiet, listen. Of course, now as soon as I say listen, it keeps quiet. There's a somber greenbill that's calling, that kind of melodious little whistle. But yeah, so these male near-guard sunbirds, they'll often perch up high on the tops of these Lebombo wattles, the tallest trees that they can find, and then they'll call from there. Looking around for any flowering orchids as well that they might go to feed on. We haven't seen any that are flowering just yet. At this time of year, there's a kind of orchid that we get here that is going to start flowering in the coming months. And it's called Mystacidium venosum. And normally April, May, June, July is when it starts to flower. Oh, now if I keep quiet again, just have a listen. There's a... I don't know if you can hear that very high-pitched trilling. It's being made by a group of pink-throated twin spots. And... there we go, there's a near-guard sunbird that's chirping. very special about the sand forest is that we get both species of twin spot. That's found in KZN. In the forest, we get the green twin spot. It's more of a forest bird. We see it often in the sand forest, and then on the outskirts of the forest, the pink-throated twin spot. But that's the thing with birding in the forest, like we've spoken about it before, is it can be you often hear them calling, and you can follow those calls as much as you like, but it can often be another task altogether to actually try and get a view. There we go, there's a near-guard sunbird that's coming into this tree. It's close by to us. There we go, calling right above us. Can't quite see it yet. Hopefully it comes into view. Oh, it's sitting... There's a big torchwood over our heads, and it's sitting up there calling. And of course, the reason I'm so desperate to show you this bird is because it's one of the birds that is endemic to the... Oh, there it goes. It's just flown over. Oh, it's just flown over. They're so small and so hard to actually try and get on camera. And then, of course, when they perch, it's never on the edge of the canopy. It's always right at the very highest point of the tree. So you almost got to be a couple hundred meters away from the base of that tree to try and get a view of the very top of it. But there it is calling. So like I was saying, one of the bird species that is endemic to the Maputo-land coastal plain. So a very special bird for us to see. And a bird that many birders in Southern Africa will travel quite a way to try and add to their life lists. But if it would just literally move 3 meters from where I think it landed, we would be rewarded with the most spectacular view. Heather, you're remarking, you're saying that this has to be one of the most beautiful parts of our reserve. Definitely, Heather. It's just so unique. And Glenn and I were just chatting now. It's Glenn's first time into the sand forest. And we were just saying we can't believe how different the landscapes are. Like we spent yesterday in those open plains, and even where we left from this morning at Phinda Mountain Lodge, up there in the mountains and the grasslands, with the grasslands around the mountains, just looks so different to this, and it's just so unique and so special. It seems like there's a bit of a bird party that's coming through. There's some square-tailed drongos and some blackback puffbacks that have just come past. So again, there must be a little swarm of small flying insects that's making its way through, that all the insectivorous birds are busy feeding on. But I think Glenn and I are just going to spend a bit more time here taking in this lovely scenery.
The Endangered Wildlife Trust fights at the forefront of conservation, across the vast Karoo and sweeping grasslands, in remote pockets of forest, along road networks, across African skies, and in communities to conserve our wildlife and wild spaces. Help us to protect forever, together. Donate now at ewt.org.za.
Hi everyone,
my name's Daniel Fisher and I'm going to be your guide this afternoon. I'm looking really forward to taking you through and showing you all the beautiful places here at andBeyond in Ngala. If you have any questions, please register on our website. Once registered, go to the live page feed and post your questions underneath the live feed. Join me on my next safari through andBeyond in Ngala on WildEarth. Send me live questions through the WildEarth website and I'll answer them live from the African bush.
The Croc is still holding another one there. It's holding from the hindquarters. I would really want. The wildebeest cross is trying. The Croc is holding the tail. It's holding tight. Oh no. Goodness me. Lucky, lucky wildebeest. You have another day to live.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Hello, I'm Marna, your WildEarth safari guide from andBeyond Ngala. What's my favorite animal? Definitely elephants, and in particular an elephant bull, an old elephant bull. I think the sheer size partnered with their experience because they grow so old. I always wonder what they've seen and how they've seen the bush change over those many years. Join me or one of the other guides twice a day on WildEarth.
These two are still busy drinking while the rest of the herd has promptly moved off. They definitely look like they're moving towards Vuyatela Dam. This is mum and calf. This calf has been trying to drink unsuccessfully. At least mostly. They were drinking and drinking at the same time. Mum was drinking water while the calf was drinking milk. I love the sound of them moving the water around with their trunks. I know that you guys do too. They've been taking it very easy. The whole time, since the last time you saw me till now, they have been just taking it easy and drinking little bits at a time, swirling the water around. If you're lucky, I think they'll go over and they'll have a swim in the dam as it starts to heat up. Definitely not in time for us as we draw towards the end of drive, but perhaps in the dam cam, if you have a look there, you'd be able to see them. Not right now, but I'd predict maybe in about 40 minutes or so. They might be there, maybe even before that, depending how fast they move. The rest of the herd is out of sight now. They seem to be moving quite quickly. Some of you are commenting on their movements, the movements of their trunk and how controlled and elegant and also strong it is. It really is. It's so precise and also so gentle. But we also know what this trunk can do. We've seen them grab hold of thick branches and trees and just pull to break them. Tens of thousands of muscles in that trunk all working together. So much dexterity, and with those two finger-like protrusions at the end, it means that they can be so specific about what they pick up and so what they put in their mouths too. And of course, where they can scratch. Behind the ear like that. Oh, that looked like a very good scratch. Imagine if they started like, years and years and years from now, if they evolved to have 2 teeth at the end of that trunk. Then it could be like 2 nails, like modified teeth, like 2 nails, and then they could really give themselves a scratch. It's not impossible. Some people develop teeth and they're growing on their palates. So perhaps the possibility for that mutation exists. Because my initial thought was, imagine on those 2 finger-like protrusions they had nails, but there's no way that a nail could exist in that portion of the body. See, they have this a bit of a love-hate relationship going on. This cow keeps looking at the calf as if she's a little bit annoyed with it. But then has let it suckle. That's a nice stretch. Yeah, it's a great idea for the morning, actually. Hi, Luna. You'd like to know if elephants have any predators in the Sabi sands. No, they don't. Obviously, young calves, they can get taken pretty much by lions. It's possible. The thing is that because of the social cohesion of elephants, even if there is a tiny enough calf and there are lions around, and, they're in the same eyeful, you can see them both. The thing is that calf is protected by the whole herd, so it's very difficult for the lions to get to it, although there are prides of lions that have, in South Africa that is, or in Africa, that have specialized in hunting elephant calves especially, because it is possible to do it. It's just so risky. And with the abundance of so much more appropriately sized prey in the Sabi sand specifically, as per your question, there's no need to target elephants, and in so doing also put the entire pride of lions at risk. Look how that trunk is resting down on the ground of that youngster. They'll do that to increase the points that are touching the ground to pick up vibrations. See, it's just flat there, like it's sitting there. Sometimes when they're tired, they do that too. It takes a lot of energy to hold up a trunk all day. Once they have nice big tusks, they kind of rest their trunk on their tusk as well when they get a little bit tired of lugging it around. I feel that these two are not so satisfied with this water. Hi, Cecily. You'd like to know if this adult is pregnant. I mean, she could be, but there's no way to tell right now, although it's unlikely. This calf is about 3-4 years old, at most 5. Either way, it's still trying to attempt to suckle, unsuccessfully, but still tried. Actually, I can't even say unsuccessfully. It was short, but it could have gotten something. But it's only once it's weaned would she be able to fall pregnant again, and even then, it's not straight away. So it's very difficult to tell. She would be about the right age. The calf would be about the right age for its mother to fall pregnant again. But they can be weaned anything between 3 and 5 years old. So this one could still be suckling. And like I said before, we definitely did see it try. So my guess would be no, just based on the behavior we've watched. I think that they're actually busy. They're busy communicating as they're drinking, and they're a bit distracted because they're kind of. It's almost as if they might be having an argument or something. They're just kind of playing around. And perhaps washing out their mouths, because that was not drinking. That was gargling, I think. You are an interesting pair, aren't you? Young males tend to be a little bit rowdy, so maybe she was particularly irritated with this young boy here. Off he goes. Yeah, go back. It's so wonderful to spend this time with you and, of course, spend it with the elephants. But it's that time of day, everybody, where we bid you farewell and say thank you so much for your questions and your comments.